Hello friends, happy Friday and welcome to the 14th day of our 30 days of wellness and connection together. So yesterday we started talking about the energy of autumn from the perspective of traditional Chinese medicine. We talked about why it's important to cover up, to stay warm as the weather starts to cool. Because I was saying that you're more likely to get cold or get a cold, the common cold or the flu even, or other illnesses. But I want to go into this a bit deeper and then also talk about the appropriate diet for this time of year. So you should know that everything is very intentional with Chinese medicine, and it's based on the knowledge that everything around us has qi. It has a life force, and everything around us has a certain character to it. So again, very intentional with our choices as we support our bodies and as we align to the season and the energy of the season. The energy is going down if we're referring to the energy of the sun as being the most influential of all the external energies. That is going down. So our activity level goes down. And we want to spend more time alone or close with our family, more time at home. So this is a very appropriate time for us to be going into shelter in place again. We are more inclined to be okay with it this time of year versus summer, where the energy is the opposite. But here there is this gradual decline. And so it's a movement toward more relaxation, stillness, and then ultimately restoration and more energy in the spring. So with autumn, there are many, again, characters or characteristics about autumn that makes it unique. So the energy is again lower, and we tend toward dryness. The body is more injured by dryness. So we want to support ourselves with more moisture. The organs and channels that are related to autumn are the lung and large intestine. So we want to support these organs and channels with all of our choices. And so when they're imbalanced, we tend toward having more colds or flus, respiratory diseases, secondary infections, so bronchitis. You have a tendency more toward asthma, which is also related to the kidney energy. Constipation, dryness, again, is related to constipation with the lung, large intestine, meridians that are paired. And when the bowels are inflamed or dry, we also see that venting out to the skin. So the skin is the organ of the body that is related to autumn and this time of year. So we're out here in my garden, by the way, my community garden, and that was a neighbor dumping their garbage. So sorry for the noise around here. So let's get a little more into the dietetics of Chinese medicine for autumn. So I have a list here so I don't forget. So of course you want to be eating seasonal fruits and vegetables. This is really easy to do if you shop at a farmer's market, because of course anything that's available is appropriate for you this time of year. Even if you're shopping at a store, make sure you're buying from local farms, and then most likely it's going to be something appropriate for your location that is seasonal and appropriate for your body. You'll want to be eating warmer foods. So this is the time to start having more soups and stews. Make sure you're cooking all your vegetables so it's easier for you to digest. This is not a time to have as many salads unless you have a really strong constitution. And you may want to ask me questions about that, what that means if you suspect you have a really strong constitution. I have a very strong constitution, and I don't want to give you too many details which may confuse you. Usually if you have a weaker constitution, you tend more toward diarrhea, so not being able to absorb nutrients well. if you have a stronger constitution, usually you tend more toward constipation and just getting a little backed up. There's more to that though. That's not a cut and dry explanation. So reach out if you're not sure. But generally, most people do not do well with salads. So I can get away with it, but it's still not the best idea. So warmer foods, like warmer temperature foods, but also warmer character foods. So again, this isn't so appropriate for me, but for most people, having onions and garlic and warmer, spicier foods is very nourishing for your digestion, for the lungs and large intestine. Also, moister foods, so think sweet potato, pumpkin, winter squash in general. What else do I have here that might be warm? So pears, persimmons, these are all very moisturizing, and pear especially is really good for the lungs. If you do have any lung issues, having a pear a day is probably a very good idea, or a few a week, to keep the lungs and the large intestine nice and moist. So white foods, and this is what's interesting about Chinese medicine too, is that certain colors are related to the seasons, to the different organs of the body. So a little more info about myself too is that I actually have not so good lung qi. So this has been diagnosed by another practitioner, and it's not something super obvious. I don't get sick a lot, but it's more of a venting out to the skin where we notice that I have issues, and more with the large intestine. And where was I going with this? So if you have a certain deficiency in an organ or with a certain energy, you can be wearing this color, which helps you. So white is the color that is associated with autumn. Black or dark blue is for the kidneys. So those are the two colors that I'm more attracted to and that help me. But the same goes for food. So foods that are white or lighter in color help with the lungs and large intestine. So onions, garlic, if you could tolerate them, cauliflower, daikon radish, rutabaga, celery root I love. I just made celery root hash browns today. Super, super good. And I had that with mushrooms. Mushrooms are really good to have this time of year, especially not just with Chinese medicine, but they have a lot of vitamin D in them. And I was talking the other day about how we're usually deficient in vitamin D this time of year when the energy of the sun is going down. So in addition to supplementing, you can be bringing in more foods that have vitamin D, like salmon, but mushrooms have quite a lot. So bring in mushrooms. Again, apples, pears, so oats, rice, sesame seeds, the lighter color sesame seeds are appropriate for autumn. And then foods to support large intestine health. So we talked about gut health too, and how important fermented foods are. So especially in autumn, if you tend toward constipation or diarrhea too. So any lower GI issue, you want to make sure that you are supporting your large intestine and the beneficial bacteria that reside there. So eating a lot of fermented foods, at least one meal of the day. I try to aim for a couple times a day. So sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi, you could have this time of year. Again, it's a little spicy. I don't have that, but most people can tolerate that. Tempeh, any pickled fruits and vegetables, really. Sourdough bread, I don't have a lot of grains, but sourdough bread might be appropriate for you too. And then of course, adding in a probiotic would be very supportive as well. So I think that's enough for you to work with. Let me know if you have any questions about any aspect of Chinese medicine dietetics that is intriguing you, that you have a question about, or maybe you have some personal questions you want to ask, you can message me as well. So let me just show you really quick. I'm here in my garden. I don't know if I could turn this around, but I'll show you what I have to clean up. I'm gonna stay out here and clean up. So this is my scarecrow friend, and I have a lot of sage around here. We had tomatoes, so everything is just looking looking really soggy right now. I have our last cantaloupe here and some other herbs, lemon balm, mint. So I'm gonna clean this up and get the soil ready. I'm gonna put some compost in the next couple of days, let that dry, integrate it, and then I will plant some fall crops. So I try to garden year round. Growing your food is super duper important, and this keeps you connected to nature. So have a great rest of the day, friends. Take care.